Yep.
Well, good morning, briefers. We're not huddlers, we're briefers on a Saturday. So, the last show of the
season.
Reason being because the Call of the Wild, who are Jeff Pistola and Benny Goldfinch, finals start next week. So you'll be doing Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So you'll need to sleep in, mate.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. You're quite right there, Rob. Just give us a little bit of breathing space. A bit hectic this time of year, but looking forward to the final series. But having said that, really enjoyed the season that we've been able to do here of the Saturday briefs, putting on the Saturday briefs. And when you think of some of the guests we've had, like Ray Adams, Daniel Duffy, talking about the history of footy. Even the last couple of weeks, two blokes have gone on to play AFL footy or VFL. John Roberts and of course the great Neil Nugget Hine, who are still getting a bit of a chuckle thinking about his stories from last week.
And mate, I'm really looking forward to today's.
Well, we are, and as we know, the terminology legend icon gets bandied around a fair bit, but there's no doubt a guest joining us today that does apply to him, and it's fantastic to have him on as our guest. Save the best till last.
Save the best till last.
In our last edition, but Trevor MacDonald joins us from the Kersbrook Football Club and also the Hills Footballing Fraternity. So, Trevor, thank you very much for getting up very early and coming and joining us here at Totness in the studio.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'm honoured.
Oh, no, we're on it.
We're on it with you, Chris.
Yeah. So, as we said, back in the 70s, mate, that's when you were actually playing and...
And unfortunately, playing the 60s a bit too.
Yeah. We might get into that. So what we might do, just initially get you in the mood, mate, of how things were back at the start of your journey, and back in the 70s when it was obviously rocking at the cabarets at the Kersbrook Hall.
God, it was going overboard.
Yeah. So we know you're a big ABBA fan, mate. So we'll just put you in the mood before we get
probably one of the greatest ABBA tunes of all time.
Well, yeah.
After Fernando.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's all depending. A lot of things how you want to interpret it. So, yeah.
And probably the first time it's ever been played on Lofty 88.9.
And it'll be the first time it's been played here on the Saturday brief. So there you are, Trevor.
Beautiful.
We're honoured to have you, and we're honoured to have ABBA.
Love it.
Just that's all right.
Well, oh yeah. Okay, what do you want, number 2, mate? Your pick, Trevor.
Your pick.
Go on.
Oh, Chiquita.
No, they're only no.
Oh, they're not allowed.
That's only ABBA. The rest of it's the whole 70s album, mate.
Oh.
We have got an ABBA.
No, we don't.
I put my glasses on today.
I do.
If you just tuned in, we've got Trevor MacDonald here. We're going to come back live shortly. Just got a bit of ABBA playing. Robbie Sherwood behind the panel. Hey, Trev, just for our live streamers out there are tuning in, can you? Well, you'll talk about it anyway, but just the purple Guernsey. What do we got here?
That's the first design of the first jumper that the Kersbrook Football Club wore back in the early 20s.
Early 20s.
Track 3. I will survive.
Beautiful. What about this one?
That's the last one that I wore when I was playing football. That's the actual jersey that I wore in most years.
Yes.
Love it. What about the ones behind you? If you could just hold
I
them up.
wore this one a fair bit too. I guess they had that one for the most years.
Oh, yep.
The double blue one. Now the other one,
The chocolate.
chocolate and blue. There's a bit of significance in that. They started with the purple one, then in the late 20s they went to chocolate and blue. Now, a question for you guys. Vanilla were also chocolate and blue, and as were a couple of other colours. Why would they go to chocolate and blue, do you think?
Lace up is differentiating point.
Yeah, but
You didn't play vanilla.
no, they didn't play vanilla, but they were chocolate and blue in those days too, apparently. And there's someone else, because they were the state colours.
Oh, really? Okay.
We haven't always been red, blue and gold.
Yeah.
They were the state colours.
Right, we might.
Chocolate and blue. Chocolate and blue.
Was that your number?
Number 9.
Yeah, I don't know why they put no on.
Oh,
No, I bought it at an auction.
Oh, they've all got 9 on them. Was it a bag?
No.
Some of them-
That one I wore had 9 on it, and they sold those as a batch, and then the others are just replicas.
No, 15 seconds.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Back here on the Saturday morning brief here on 88.9 FM, and our special guest in our season finale is the one and only Trevor MacDonald. And just to put you in the mood there, Trevor, where it all started, your football journey there, a bit of 70s, we'll be playing a bit of 70s music throughout the next hour just to keep you in the mood, mate.
Beautiful.
Now, Kersbrook Football Club, but I have done a little bit of research here, Trev, and it's come to my mind, and I couldn't think of anything worse for a Kersbrook person, but you actually commenced your football career playing for the over Goulds Hill at Gummaraka.
Yeah, well, I did. Back in those days, I played for Kersbrook Primary School and then went to Burwood High School and played for Burwood High School. But Kersbrook didn't have a cult, so there was nowhere to play football, and eventually convinced my parents that Gummaraka had a team, I'll go and play for Gummaraka. So I did play a couple of seasons for Gummaraka and the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're playing football and the neighbours are always the ones you want to be, Gummaraka and Burwood, and probably Williamstown was the one that I wanted to beat more than anybody else. But yeah, I
So Williamstown, sorry Trev, Williamstown used to be in the part of the HFL?
they did,
They
and,
were.
and then they.
And Torrance Valley back in those days.
Okay.
Because Kersbrook's had a bit of a journey, haven't they?
No, Williamstown played in the hills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying Kersbrook itself as a club,
Well, we played.
North and
We
East Torrance.
were playing in Torrance Valley, and we were getting absolutely smashed all of the time. We were playing. Your Raven and Stirling were in Stirling, were in Torrance
That's
Valley.
right, yes, yes.
And we were getting smashed, and the hierarchy at the time said, "Oh, we'll go and play in this East Torrens Association," which took in Houghton, Forest Range had a team in it, Ashton were in it.
The Scrubbers, were they playing?
No, Houghton.
Paraka?
No, Houghton were the Scrubbers.
Ah,
Yeah,
Houghton.
they're Houghton Paracon combined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we played in that for a couple of seasons, and then that was sort of the Nord area, and they combined with North Adelaide, and it became North Association, and then it started to take in some of the western suburbs and.
Probably where our man does his postie around Modbury and stuff like that.
No, I'm talking about Brompton and
Oh, right.
right down there. So
Wow.
by then,
Bit of travel.
yeah, a bit of travel, and by then and they were mongrel sites to fly. Oh, God. Anyway,
It's the first time I've ever heard Trev half swear. Mongrel.
Yeah.
oh, you go there and these guys that just want to try and kill you. Like I'm about 17 or 18
Yeah,
at that age,
of
and
course.
knees used to knock a fair bit when I was playing against them. Anyway, by then the hills had started,
Yes.
and once again the hierarchy thought that we'd be better placed playing in the hills than playing down in those areas. So we came back to the hills, and
I think come back about, what, 1971, something like that? Is that
71. 71 we came back.
You actually made the grand final the first year.
Yes, very good memory. Yes, we did make the grand final. I think Pleasant Valley beat us by
Yes.
5 or 6 points or something.
Yes. When they're fourth and 5 years, because
They
they
were,
won the first three, put them up in the Central Division, and they went back and on that one.
and they beat us.
David French.
David French was playing for them. I mean, it was a very strong club. I was just amazed that eventually that they fell over and combined with Mount Torrens to form Torrens Valley. But yeah, they were very strong. Yeah.
And of course, then I think the next year, actually, Kersbrook wins its first Hills Football League premiership.
Yes, we played Birdwood in the grand final.
Nothing better than beating Birdwood, I reckon.
Oh,
Or Gummaraka.
or Williamstown. Williamstown. But yeah, they had a good side, Birdwood, and we didn't win by a lot, but I think we won that by a few points as well.
And you went on to play in a couple more. Thanks.
Yeah, the next year we didn't even make the 5 the next year, and no, I think it's still 4.
Yeah.
And then the following year we were strong again, and we beat Birdwood again, and then we sort of took a bit of a nosedive for a while, as most people that are involved in football clubs. So you have your times where you fall away and
Like retire, etc.
yes, and that's right, and they move on. So we were down the doldrums a bit, but then we picked up again, and in the 80s I think we won one in the 80s.
86, I think you won.
86 something, 84, 86 something.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And as for your playing career, am I right saying 450 senior games for Kersbrook?
Yes, some of those were in the B grade. I played in the A's until I was 36, and they're playing older than that now, though.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But
it's modern medicine these days.
It's modern medicine, yeah.
Keeps them younger.
Yeah. And I said to the coach, who was Steve Brown at the time, look, just play me in the B's now. I'm past playing the A's. I did play a few A grade games when they were short, but generally B grade, and B grade was pretty strong, and so we played in a few grand finals in the B grade, and that was when Kim Pearce came onto the scene and became coach of the Kersbrook.
So your last actual game for Kersbrook, Trev?
Last actual game, well, that was the last year that I that I was playing for Kersbrook, and I didn't realise this, but Kim Pearce rang me up on during the week and said, "Oh, you got to play Saturday." And at that stage, I was just filling in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And he said, "You got to play Saturday." I said, "Hey, you got enough, haven't you?" He said, "Yeah, but you played 449 games." And that's the only reason I know that I played 450, because Piercy told me. And so I played my last game on the Ashton Oval against Ashton. I don't know whether Eastern Rangers by then or Ashton. I think they might have been Eastern Rangers.
Eastern Rangers, mate.
I reckon they might have been Eastern Rangers.
Might have just started. Yes, 83 they came.
Yeah.
Dave Cargan was. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my last game of footy, and I mean I was always going to go to umpiring. This thing's coming on.
So 39 years ago was your last game of footy?
Don't say that. No, I played Super Rules. I did play Super Rules.
Yeah.
I went into Super Rules, and Hills didn't have a Super Rules team.
No.
So, and I worked with a guy who played Super Rules. He played for the South. No, he played South. He played South. And I said, I'm going to start playing the Super Rules. And a mate of mine, Daryl Bischoff, he wanted to play too. And so I asked this guy, I want to play Super Rules. He said, well, if I wasn't playing for South, I'd play for East because they're the best run club. I said, good enough for me. I'll go and play for East. Now, back in those days, and when you played too, Jeff, you played against quite a few blokes that have played AFL and SANFL. I mean, I think nowadays it was probably a 35 to 45 age group.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, now it's probably 45 to 65.
Yes.
And the AFL guys don't play.
Yes.
But in our side, we had Graham Malloy.
Oh, really?
Graham Malloy.
We had Frankie Leonard.
Yeah.
Mopper Dunstan.
Yeah.
The Woodcocks, Roger and Brian.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
And there were a lot. You'd have played against a lot of these guys.
Yeah, well, even in the Hills, managed to get blokes like Dexter Kennedy play. But I remember playing against Westies and Louis Colotto and Georgie Roach, who
Max James.
Yeah, Max James, and even Stephen Curtis wore the helmet for Port Adelaide back then. So as Trev said, it was it was pretty good footy. So I did that for a little while, and then I think my last actual game of football, I sort of was umpiring football, Super Rules as well, and I went to Blackwood, and there was two other blokes there umpire, and Ray Smith. Remember Ray Smith? Yeah, of course.
He was playing, he was a goal umpire.
Yeah, that's
Blackwood. Right. He said, "Oh, we're a bit short." I said, "I'll play." So my last actual game of football, I played for Blackwood.
In Super Rules.
In Super Rules.
Yeah. Hey, we'll get on to the umpiring facet, because you said 450 playing, and then you've more than passed that as an umpire. But just you might notice some of the jumpers that Trev's been good enough to bring in, because I know you're a great historian when it comes to footy, and particularly the Kersbrook Footy Club. So just run us through what we have around here. Maybe Thing might hold them up in. And,
Rob's got that one.
Rob's got that one. Just that first one there.
Ironically, the first president of the Kersbrook Football Club was my great-grandfather, Evan James Powell.
I was going to ask you about that, just digressing, and Benny Goldfinch did this fantastic article back in 2013 here, and it says that People have suggested sometimes you go down Checker Hill Road, it's a bit like going into Deliverance country. Did
I write that?
I know it gets away like that.
I didn't write
the kid in the tree with the banjo. I'm just kidding, Kurt. But in the article you wrote that it's all stemmed from Evan James Powell.
Well,
is that right?
The James boys were on their mother's side.
Yeah.
They've got the Powell blood, and we've all got the MacDonald's all had the Powell blood, and there's a few others that play there that also have it, and they still are still playing it. But anyway, so Evan James Powell was the first president, and we had the purple and white jumper. That was our first jumper, and that was 1921.
Hang on. And we go to this one, eh? This is all reproduced for last year's centenary season.
Yeah, that's right.
So then we go to this one. Was this the era when you were sponsored by Cadbury's or something?
Yes, Cadbury chocolates, most of us then. And as I said to you guys earlier, that there's significance in that jumper because there were a few clubs in South Australia with chocolate and blue, and you'd think, why would anyone want to be chocolate and blue? And it's because it was the state colours.
Okay, and a readily available chocolate and blue. Because I know a lot of clubs change their colours, because I know Stirling Football Club was red, white and blue, and then after World War II changed to their more familiar blue and gold because shortage of having that coloured material. But,
I wouldn't know.
And I do remember that the Brookers did wear this in a couple of
times. That's where I got it.
Because the old lace-up, as was the variety. So then we go to the more traditional...
No, we go to this one then.
Okay, sorry.
This is a replica of it.
Oh, right.
Navy blue and light blue. And that was one, I guess, that I wore most in my playing days. When I played Colts at Kersbrook, and when I first started in the seniors, we wore that jumper, and then we switched over.
Because it would have been the old long sleeve woolen and nothing like that lycra stuff.
Oh, speaking of wool.
Definitely.
And then of course this one, it's Robbie's just showing.
That's the one I wore in the last years.
Is that the last jumper you wore?
Yes, that's the last jumper.
Turned around, Rob.
It's the famous number 9.
Number 9. Yeah, number 9.
Phil Carman.
Yeah.
Trevor Mac.
And of course now, last decade or so, they've gone to another different
Yes, they've got another design now.
More the light.
Which is better than the one that. Better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the playing days.
Now, as you said, and then Benny in that excellent article he did,
it was good.
Just the family connection of Kersbrook. You mentioned, about the Scots and the Jameses, because the MacDonalds. What is it? Just the love of playing for Kersbrook. Because remember when you got married, you actually moved away, but
yes, I did.
You moved down the Plains.
Gillis Plains, yeah.
But you still came back, obviously, to play football at Kersbrook.
Yeah, well, I did. And you'd have been the same when you were a young bloke growing up in a town. The guys you play football with are your best friends, and they still played it. Like Adrian and Neville James, and lots of blokes that were there that I was very friendly with, and Darryl Bischoff, a guy who and I'm still friendly with all those guys. He moved to the Plains too when he got married, and he wanted to play at Kersbrook still. So we used to go up in one car.
Yeah.
So still played for Kersbrook. So.
And obviously the fact of the love of the club and playing with your mates, Trev, that's led to some remarkable playing tallies by Kersbrook footballers. Yourself 450, where you sort of pale in significance for some of them. When you look at them, like the family connections, like the James, the aggregate. Also, obviously Kim Pearcey's done about 1 million on his own.
God,
but
still playing.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, that they've all played there. Particularly in the early days when we played on the old oval.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
We didn't have club rooms. We had the riding for disabled shed down the side where we'd go down there and have a bit of a barbecue thing after games. And
I remember about Lofty. I think about 1991.
Yeah, because we played in
Div 1.
Yeah,
right. I think Sticks DeRouge was the coach, maybe.
No, he was. He might have coached us then, but the first bloke that coached us was.
Yes. He played for Fantasia, was it? No.
He brought Fantasia.
Yes. I can't be a bloke from Norwood.
Yes.
Because I remember, I remember an incident that Mount Lofty at Heathfield, and I think Darryl Pearce didn't play for the club after. It's a bit of Hockalai, was it? A cockle?
Yes, that's. I reckon that's it. Yes.
Or something like that.
Something
But anyway,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
not
they'll
sure,
have a
I'm
bit
not-
of a disagreement with the coach.
They did. They did.
But I do remember going out in 1991 as a Sunday game out there in Mount Lofty, who were reigning premiers from the previous year under Andrew Downs, and they only won by a point. Young David Went, who was about 16 in those days, kicked the goal virtually off the side. But I remember at the entrance end, or the tavern end, if I can use that terminology, there was a bit of a shed, and there was a couple of 44-gallon drums and a bit of a trestle table strung across, and that was the bar.
Yeah, well, that shed was the riding for the disabled.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Right,
that was
right.
used for them. So.
I reckon there were a few blokes disabled after spent a bit of time with that.
Slowing up the Kersbrook.
But and of course the famous, as we used to dub it, the old or the guest chamber showers, because you're all like a little tunnel. You go into this room and a couple of things hanging down.
Oh, shower.
Very
Well,
gloomy and dark.
All share together and hold.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
See, some of the things that's changed in football.
They're precious.
And of course the Oval used to have the drain across the half-forward flank.
Oh,
actually,
God.
so memories of playing on that.
It wasn't good, and I mean, I like playing on it because
Oh.
I played on it all the time. But you know, it was up there with Lenswood and Bridgewater. You know.
Yeah, right. As I said, from this side of the hills, and only really playing Kersbrook that one year, I guess we didn't get a feel for the conditions, if I can use that terminology. But obviously, seeing a few photos in the Courier and everything, and particularly back in the days where everyone sort of, well, white shorts away, who would know it? Because after about 5 minutes, you all look the same.
In mud.
Yeah, I say now to people that the two biggest differences that I notice when I go to football now is that the surface of ovals that players play on. Now I know this weekend might make a bit of a lie of that because of all the rain we've had, but generally the surface they play on is so much better.
Yeah, the drainage, etc.
Yes, but I'm not sure that as many people go to home and away matches as used to.
Yeah, well, I suppose nowadays you've got the fact that the AFL, or back in the day when there was SNFL, VFL, I guess.
Yeah.
But now because the coverage on TV or streaming or
And is it because like our generation, we go week in, week out, where the generations coming through like two decades behind us, they're not that way inclined because there's that many more things to do, and we're getting older, so we can't get there all the time.
Yeah, well, to a point. And I mean, that's only my idea.
Yeah,
That's only
sure,
my idea.
of course.
But even at a place like Stirling, Jeff Pistola played at Stirling. Now, I bet most of the people, you would have known most of the people, not all the people, but a lot of the people lived in Stirling.
Yeah.
And they knew you.
It's a community thing.
So they would come and watch the football on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And the AFL wasn't there to go and watch in the city. And similarly to the places like Birdwood and Kersbrook and Gamaraka, everyone knew everybody, and they would come and watch them play footy. But now a lot of people have moved to those areas that have a 10-acre block of land with a one horse, two sheep, and a cow or something.
But also, can I ask you, Trev, and you would notice this in recent times through your experience going around the ground as an umpire, particularly in the country division, the lack of juniors, etc. Like the other week, Kersbrook, there was 2 games. You know, people aren't going to roll up. It's as you said, local footy used to be a community day where everyone would go because everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, Trev's grandson's playing, or you know, my nephew's playing. I'll go and watch him, and you tend to stay the whole day because you run into people and you have a bit of a chin wag and away you go. Where situation now, where some games, well, most grounds in the country division, only 2 games on the day.
And what you say is true. I mean, it's a well-known fact that the drop-off in young men playing football is significant. I mean, the females are catching up. They're all playing, and unfortunately, they're not the same number of the equivalent of males are playing. And and whether they now switch to play the females on a Saturday as well as the I know change rooms, all those things are a bit difficult, but it's I don't know.
Now, before we move on to your next facet of involvement in footy, just Kersbrook Footy Club. What's it meant to you? And probably a difficult question in such a short amount of time to think about it, but give us I won't be hard and ask you the best, so give us the 5 best footballers you've been involved with.
I mean, at Kersbrook, that's not hard, is it? I mean, Brett James won two grand final, AFL grand final medal. Roger James won 1. The brother Paul wasn't far behind him. Like I'm very surprised that he didn't get picked up by the AFL because he's very talented too. So those guys aside,
So we'll go back to your era.
When I first started playing football, Adrian James, who's the father of us, he was probably Kersbrook's best footballer when I was about 15 or something. And Milton Muscoviak was also a really good footballer when I was like about 15 or so.
Yeah.
But during that era, we had a reasonably even side that we didn't have anyone that really, stood out above anybody else.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, a guy that came to our club, a bloke called Stefan Horvath.
I was going to say,
he was an outstanding player. He was the most influential footballer, I would say, when he started playing for us. And we had another bloke play for us. It was just after I was playing in these. Andrew DeKeven.
Oh yes,
most exciting player,
yes.
Right? Yeah. But he did have days where he
didn't turn up.
No, he didn't touch the ball.
What were you, enigmatic? Probably a good word to describe him because he went and played for Birdwood. I think.
He went to Birdwood, yeah.
Champion goal kicker. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean some of the things he did,
Yeah.
marks he took, sensational. But
and then look at the likes of the Scott boys, particularly Matt
Scott, was
Kane Powers,
but
Chopper Wesley. These
like in my time,
David Newman.
Even before that, in my time, David Scott played. That was Matt Scott's father.
Yep.
He was quite a good player, but he didn't play a lot. But he was a good footballer. His brother Tom also played. He played mainly these. But then Matt Scott came along, and John and Ben. They were really good players for Kersbrook. I'll run through all the the Newmans are all good footballers.
I don't think it happened, Trev. Correct me, obviously if I'm wrong, but with the centenary, they didn't pick a team of the century, did they? Because it would have been fraught with danger trying to fit. As we know, Rob, a lot of clubs do it, and it just creates so many problems. Because trying to pick 21 blokes out of how many people have been over a century, it's just fraught with danger.
It is.
Can actually cause divisions in clubs.
Yeah. I had this discussion with Kim Pierce about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, never pick a best team ever.
Yeah.
Never do it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You pick Rob, and you don't get picked.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Right. Only played 10 games. And you played 20.
So, no, you're right. It is.
It's fraught with danger.
It is
and
I know what. Sorry, just on that point.
Yeah,
sure. At Iron Bank. We did their first 25 years, and then we said after, okay, we'll just do it every 25 years.
Yeah.
So
even that can cause.
Yeah, it can. It can, because you just get so many players.
Who's to would have like John Wilkie?
Johnny Wilkie, but
I know he did play for Chain of Ponds, which is amazing that they had a footy club, but then he went to Kersbrook.
Well, yeah, he married a pal, so there you go.
There you go. It all comes back.
All the pals were.
Mr. Power, he got a lot of these.
And they lived just where I lived, at the farm where we lived, they were just not far away, and their son Danny was a good friend of mine at school. And, used to walk home from primary school together. But Johnny Wilkie was a champion, and he played past versus present. I only saw him play one game, past versus present, and he was in his 40s then, and he was still pretty good. And the same guy, he made a comeback to cricket one year, and he hadn't played for about 25 years. I reckon he's nearly as good a batsman as I've ever seen. He was just good at everything.
It's just disappointing. One of those blokes who can turn his head.
Really gives you the
just natural all-round source.
And when you see him turn up, is he playing?
That's just it. Kersbrook have been blessed with the riches. Hey, just quickly, before we go to another song for you, when you go around the country division and you just talk about footy and the club, all those Northern teams love to hate, love to beat is Kersbrook. Like you used the word before, that pack of mongrels and blah, blah, blah. Is it like the aura Kersbrook play? Because they're pretty tough boys, obviously playing in the old ground and that sort of stuff.
We did have a couple of blokes. We had a bloke called Bruno Ravelli, frightened of nothing, and jump into packs and whatever. We played Gumraka one day, and Gumraka had a really good footballer called Greg Mullins played for us.
Yes, yeah.
And Bruno tackled him, and they're on the ground, and next thing Mullins gets up, he pulls up his jumper, Bruno's bitten him.
Oh
no! Such the adage about feeding them raw meat before they game.
But yeah, they did. Gumraka like to beat us, and Bourbon like to beat us.
Absolutely. And as alluded to before, Milton McScoviak, because Benny Goldfinch and myself had the pleasure of going out and the annual cup, which should be the Mount Gould Cup, but now Milton McScoviak.
And rightly so.
Obviously a fantastic man for both clubs and footy in that area.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was really good.
Yep.
As I said, I remember him when I was fairly young playing and genius. And, he was. It was Torrens Valley in those days, and he was the only one they considered as an association representative from Kersbrook.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, you're on the Saturday morning at Sports Brief, our season finale, and we're joined by Trevor MacDonald. And well, Trev, something I think we might. Gloria Gaynor was probably thinking of you and your lasting career when she sang this song. So I Will Survive, and that's you. So we'll be back with more shortly here. 88.9 FM.
Want a glass of water, Trev?
No, right, thanks, mate. Yeah, getting bored with all this stuff I'm telling you.
No, mate, we love it.
We had this bloke, Daniel Duffy, in that week. Because Grant Keeler, he does a bit of, we put it, Grant Keeler.
Oh, yes,
Courier,
I know,
that's
yeah.
He's an official store. Anyway, I wrote an article in the Courier about something. Anyway, this Duffy bloke picked up and he rang me. He said, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I said, oh, you come in one morning, you come in, he was brilliant. Like, he played 60, 70. He originally played for Bridgie, then he ended up playing for Pleasant Valley. Yeah, Daniel Duffy over.
If you just tuned in on the live stream, we're just having a break.
Playing for Little Hand.
That's wild, he's there.
Rob's got his hair cut today.
Not like it, mate.
Yeah, terrific. Fresh.
Got a fix for the show. Been the
But he was really
last show
good
of the year
stuff he was
on
talking
Saturday morning.
Hey, this is 72 or something.
I hate it when you get a haircut though, Benny, because the hair gets down.
Yeah, actually, it's in the area.
Blow dry?
That's how you got the green.
Wouldn't be working on a dairy at Mount Pleasant now, does he get ready out?
And he walked all the way from Bridgewater out there to get the job.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He walked from Bridgewater to Mount Pleasant.
So he said.
God, it's a fair walk.
Yeah.
Even though 6 mile an hour, because it was miles he was talking on.
Yeah.
It's 7 hours to get there. Then you've got to present, scrub up, and then go home.
You have to sleep on the side of the road somewhere, wouldn't you?
It's a long day. Yeah.
He's just bloody good looking young bloke here, mate.
Yeah.
That's a few while ago. Maury's still going around.
Yeah.
Tennis up in the bloody...
Riverland, River Murray. Kim Graham's still doing Kangaroo.
Is he?
Yeah.
Because there's your goal mate today.
Yep, the old level.
What game? You doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
Sent me a really interesting email about something about a complaint about which wasn't followed up.
Oh, yeah. Another story. Yeah, another
Yeah.
Anyway. So the Brookers are a bit disappointed. Well, had to be the 4, I suppose, after last year, or the 4 years, and then she was beefing, stepping back and lost a few players. And will Lockie go on, Jerry? Coach?
I think
What
so.
about the future, Kersbrook? Are you alright?
As
to move.
yeah, well, as I said to you, Gumrack and Kersbrook.
There's 5 teams and 20 Ks out there.
Yeah, and down here at Macclesfield. Meadows are not bad because they got a bit of development.
Yeah.
You see, Mount Torrens is a development in Mount Torrens now.
I think how long before they get people?
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of years away.
They want to be like the lane. Actually, Benny's discussed it too.
Plus E-grade.
Just going to see.
Yes.
Keep their entity.
Who's that?
They can build it.
No,
Torrens.
Torrens,
Sorry.
yeah.
They won't do that, right?
No.
Like Pride, but Kersbrook and Gummeraka, maybe they get together. Kersbrook, Birdwood,
Gumrack will never compete with
They're
Kersbrook.
not going to lose.
Birdwood and Gummeraka don't get on either.
They're not going to lose.
No, they get on better than Kersbrook and Gumrack.
Kersbrook have got some juniors coming through, don't they?
It's funny you went ostracised in the district. Well, Charlie Grable would be now, and Wakey's lad.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, but I've got to tell you, I used to like being big when we played it, but when I started umpiring, they treated me as well as anybody.
Hmm.
Yeah. I get on really well with it.
Yeah, but
How long we got, Rob?
4.
Hayfield and
It's a long song.
4 minutes.
You can
Fade it.
face it down, but
Yeah.
I think
Come back.
Got to go for about another minute. Right, Heath-Ludgate and Stirling hated each other's guts.
Yeah.
And because then they formed out. Well, the young generation didn't know there was two separate clubs.
No, they wouldn't. And that would happen too, but I guess it's just getting started. Like if I'm playing for...
To make the move.
No, I'll just play for them.
Yeah.
Teacher going.
For you to go and nominate, say, oh, I think we should join with Gamaraka, you'd get held down, wouldn't you? 100 years of tradition, and they're an old club. Well, they're 100 years old too, aren't
Yes, they're older.
they? Older, yeah.
Did you play at Houghton?
I've played at Houghton Oval, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played it.
So Mel Gilmore and all that?
Yeah, Mel
Strikers?
Kimmel was playing, yeah, and
Kevin
Kevin Johns
Johns?
and Chicken Johns, all the Johnses. Yeah, we used to play them.
Yeah.
I think the first grand final we won at East Torrens, we beat Houghton. And I think
How far away is Houghton from Kersbrook?
Oh, not far.
Nah, that's right.
My wife comes from Houghton.
Oh,
Because we used to say in the old days, so only good thing coming out of the mountain is the road that came at times. You know,
intro to the morning, what was it, the morning star?
Morning Star. Yeah.
Welcome back. There was a blast from the past. So it was us oldies reminisced, I suppose, while the tune was playing. Here on Lofty 88.9 on Saturday morning sports brief, the last one for the year. And,
Last of the past, Robert, you're being a bit
well, mate, I'm 60 odd as well.
disrespectful
Hey.
to our special
He's
guest, Trevor
young.
MacDonald.
Yeah.
Like, we're 60 odd years old. He's
He was telling me he was
70.
40 when that song came out.
There we go.
Ah,
No. But your year's young, Trev. That's how
Years
you
young,
look
is
at
it? Yeah, I wish.
We'll be happy to get there.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, we've got Pistols and our great mate Trevor MacDonald.
Now, Trev, playing days have finished, as you touched on. You were sort of dabbled a little bit in umpiring with Super Rules, I believe, and then you get into the main system. Also, you did a bit in SAFA. It's
Yes,
interesting
yes,
to
I
know
did.
that when they played the Federal League, that sort of stuff.
Yes, I did. When I first got married, and of course my wife was working, and when you're working for organisations, as Rob Shear would tell you, I was working for Australia. Well, it's PNG originally, and Australia Post, and they don't pay very much. So,
Slave labour.
yeah, slave labour. Anyway, I was. I thought when she stopped working, had the children, and I thought I've got to pay this mortgage. And I was talking to a bloke that I work with, and I said, I'm going to have to get a job, to drive through bottle
Yeah.
shop or something like that. He said, well, why don't you umpire football? I said, because I play football. Yeah, we said, SAFA, they play juniors on
Sunday.
Sundays.
That's right.
And, oh yeah. So that's how I started. I did schoolboys first. You've got to learn the trade.
Yeah.
And then I started doing on Sundays, after I played Saturdays, and then did juniors on Sunday. And they were pretty good because they played the A grade, played one game on Sunday at Adelaide Oval, because remember the SA
That's
NFL
right.
and
Yes,
cricket
yes.
had a bit of a fallout.
That's right.
So I did do a couple of B grade games, like the curtain raisers on Adelaide Oval, and a couple of games at Adelaide Oval. And you talk about playing the Victorian Federal League.
Yes.
I did the curtain raiser.
Yeah.
And you're on your own in those days. It's just
Yeah.
fun. So anyway, I did that for I guess 5 or 6 years, and the kids are starting to grow up a bit, so I gave it away with the intention that I would come back to it. And so that was always my intention when I was playing football, that eventually I'll come back to it. And at Kersbrook, and all club, Kersbrook's no different from any other club, in that if you roll up and the B grade's short,
Yeah.
You play.
You play, and then all clubs do that.
Yeah.
And like I'm hitting towards 40, and I'm thinking I'm going to be doing this until I'm 175 years old. And because I thought, so I coached the senior Colts when the son was playing. I didn't coach them very well, I might admit, for a couple of seasons. And then the next year, I think I ran the boundary in the A grade and played a couple of B grade games. Without going to be the last year, then I was going to go umpire. And I'd spoken to Neville Huggard, who was the coach, and he was welcoming. So the next year, I became an umpire.
So you started off in the reserves or B grade, or straight into A grade, or
Well, no,
they were a bit short, so you got thrown into the line of fire?
well, I was down to do a B grade game on the Wednesday night, and then someone had pulled out. So Huggard said, "Oh, you've umpired A grade football."
Oh, of course,
Yeah, because I was in
yeah.
Sapper.
Yeah,
Well, I hadn't. I'd only done B grade football. So anyway, he said, you can umpire at Ashton. This is when Eastern Rangers were playing. Eastern Rangers, I can remember the first game, because the Eastern Rangers
where you played your last game.
where I played my last game. Eastern Rangers versus Burwood. And he said, oh, you're on your own.
Oh,
Because Ashton's a smaller oval.
Yeah.
They have a lot. I think Bridgewater they used one umpire, Ashton they used one umpire.
sure. Lenswood, yeah.
That was the first game, yeah. So then I...
Well, and were you blessed with a fine day up at Mount Olympus?
Yes, it was the start of the season.
Ah, perfect.
April, yeah, it was good.
No doubt over your career you've returned Ashton Oval on
Yeah.
less hospitable days.
Everybody tells you about, oh, we were at Ashton, we played at Ashton, or the umpires will say, yeah, I umpired up at Ashton, and, you know, you couldn't see 100 metres. But they're good days to umpire.
Yeah.
Because people watching have got no idea what decision you make.
They can't be critical because they can't see it.
No. Yes, I did have one of those.
Actually, I remember Neville Clark and I reckon Brucey Walsh, who's his partner, umpiring, and they said, oh, it was that cold that they actually had under their uniforms, they had glad bags.
Yeah, that was
Strap
true.
on
That
was
Yeah,
cut the holes in the glad bag for you put it over your head.
Yeah, that was an old umpire's trick, is that on a cold day,
Yeah,
you put a t-shirt on first, because the plastic on you makes you sweat a bit.
yeah.
Pull the plastic bag over,
And that was the thermalisation of an
I
umpire.
guess so. Back in the one umpire system, Trev, on the day like that, they keep you warm because you're continually running. But two umpire system, it might be the balls down one end all the time and you're freezing up the other end, or you'd swap.
I mean, that is true when you're on your own. But there weren't many games. I think in A grade that was the only game I ever umpired on my own. I mean, I was with two umpires all the time.
Now, we always hear about the best umpires seem to be the guys who've made the transition from playing because they understand the game a bit more, and that's not being derogative towards those guys who didn't play the game that umpire, but you have a better feel for it. Have you found that's advantageous?
It probably is, but guys that have played footy and then become umpires, when they first start, they chase the ball because they think they're still playing. and like an umpires, they tell you've got to be 20 metres from play so you can get a sort of an overall view. But so there are plenty of guys that haven't really played much football. Like Rob Tanner hasn't played much football, but he's probably the best umpire that we've had.
Charles is a champion Colts.
He played C grade in Colts, but his father will tell you a different story.
Hey, as you said before, when you initially took up umpiring, was it hard, as you said, as a player, then to take up the whistle and then have the courage and your convictions to make a decision, or you worried what people would think?
Well,
is that a hard thing to be a transition?
That's never been a problem because I had umpired before, and so I had experience.
But when you initially took up umpiring,
no, not really. That was never an issue for me, and no, I can't say that was ever a problem. I'm going to say it's the difficult thing to do was when you played football, you know, we're playing Gumrack or we're playing Burwood, and you play them, and I guess in those days there were club rooms weren't the
of course.
So you play the game, right? We finished playing those guys, the enemy. Well, I'm going home or going. And then all of a sudden, you've got to be friendly to both sides. And I would say that without a shadow of doubt, umpiring football has introduced me to more nice people in football than playing ever did.
And most of them are fellow umpires.
No.
Just trying to build them up for you, Trev.
No, there's umpires. They're not nice guys.
Well, we know. Seriously. Hey, over your career, how many A-grade games did you do?
Oh, over 400.
Yeah, 400. We did have...
I don't know how many.
Thing will just come in again if we can. Excuse me, Trev.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That was back a few years ago now. You haven't aged, Trev. Some of the other blokes have, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
But over that career, just a couple of, I reckon, outstanding memories for you might be it wasn't controversial, but the '98 grand final with the famous Simon Blake, I can't hear you free kick.
Oh, yes, I mean, the rule nowadays is better, and if that had been applied then, there wouldn't have been that issue. And I've had this discussion with Simon Blake many times, when he was coaching Meadows and that. And
I guess you never won.
No, I actually don't. I don't mind Simon Blake.
Yeah.
Actually, he's quite a big
If you're
guy.
watching Blakey, good morning to
Yes,
you.
yes. Good morning, Simon.
And of course, the other one, this is one of the most controversial. If thing might come in here.
Oh, hang on, Trev, just for listeners out there, even though you probably... what was that
Oh,
incident?
yeah, for
What-
listeners,
Oh,
viewers.
The ball went out of bounds. I think it was out on the full or free kick. I think.
What was
Yeah,
this?
was it
Grand final? Or
Grand final.
Yeah, it was a grand final.
At
Grand
Balmain?
final, and at Balhana.
Yeah.
And Simon had the kick, and he went back to kick it, and he didn't. He was looking around,
Yeah. Well,
And
milking the clock.
milking the clock. Yeah, but he was getting towards the end and hung up in front.
No, holding on.
So I blew the whistle and said, "Kick it, Simon," and he goes, "What?"
Yeah. Still.
So, and he's still looking around. I blew the whistle and said, "Kick it." What? 3 times I blew the whistle and he didn't kick it. So I paid a free kick for wasting time. And the ball went down to Lobethall's end. They got a goal, levelled the scores, and then they had to play extra time.
Yeah. That's the only extra time's been applied, I think.
Now the other time, Bridgewater and
Yeah.
they had a replay.
That was a complete
Replay.
draw.
Yeah, and they
And after
replayed.
that, they
Replay.
no more replays at the
It was that was the
extra
last
time.
one.
So
Yeah.
that game there, 98 behind
What
it
else
now.
we got?
We'll just get thing to pop in
Oh,
here and
don't
show that one
forget
now. One of the
that.
most famous tribunal
Oh,
cases.
yes.
Ryan Badams. What year was that thing? I think 2000.
2009.
43.
And a quote here from Lynn Wilhelm, we feel it's severe penalty for what was an accidental
Now,
collision.
There was a collision during the game.
Yes.
Ryan Badams and yourself out at Meadows, I think it was.
It was, yes.
And Ryan was given a suspension which went 13 weeks or something like that. It was quite substantial.
No, it was more than that.
To the end of 2008 during the season, but it was spanned until the end of the next season.
Yeah.
So, and then they took it down to the SNFL, whether they had video footage, because video wasn't prevalent.
You couldn't
back in
use
those days. And they overturned it, and he was able to play it. But you got cleaned up, mate. You looked a bit like Bob Skilton with
I had the black eye. Look, at the time that it happened, I thought that, because I guess it was Ryan, and Ryan,
Yeah, well,
he had a bit of a reputation.
feisty character.
Yeah, it was a bit feisty, and I thought it was, it's on purpose. So I sent him off and reported him. Now we get to the tribunal, and your man Frank's on the,
Frank Clements, yeah.
and Ryan had a bit of a name with the tribunal, and he probably didn't handle himself that well at the tribunal. And I thought that I think there were 2 minor round games to go before
Yes,
the
that's
finals,
right,
and they were
yes.
in the finals.
Yes.
And I thought the 2 games to come would be fair enough. And anyway, they hear the case, and they come back in, and Frank says, "We're going to suspend you for the rest of the year." And of course he dropped his head, and then Frank adds, "And next year." And then after this has happened, I accessed the video of the video of it, and right decision was made. In my opinion, right decision was made. He should have got off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did plead guilty, reading the press
Because he ran into me. He couldn't say he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time, and he should have got off.
That was probably before the days of actually like at centre bounces, as you see now, like I'm going backwards, you actually nominate the passage that the umpire's going to.
No, not
Was it, no?
No,
It was
not.
just general field player, no.
Yeah, general field play, and I was too close to that. Chasing the football instead of being 20 metres away.
Going to get a kick.
Trying to get a kick, yeah.
Now, obviously the MacDonald family involved, because younger brother John Skin, he's at goal umpiring now, and
Yes.
we've seen on the Call of the Wild, and we're very impressed with this. Riley and Jaden MacDonald, members of the Boundary Academy boys, and
Yeah.
doing a very. How old are they, Trev?
At 14.
That's a fantastic effort.
And
And of course, the other week, you had the great pleasure of umpiring, field umpiring with your son Ash.
Ashley sort of got roped into doing the because they're short of umpires. He sort of got roped into umpiring the Colts at Kersbrook, and then Mick Taylor said, we're still short. And that's when I came back. Like I didn't do the first 4 or 5 games, and they're short, so I said, I'll help you out in the B grade, and leave me in the country division because I don't think I can keep up, and I can't keep up there. I'm not gonna-
Yeah.
And today I've got to go to Nan Well, good luck man in Loberthal.
Brian Rule will carry you.
Brian Rule
Yeah.
will carry me, yes.
The old postie turning up again.
I pranked his bite, so.
Anyway, so Ashley doesn't want to be an umpire.
No.
He's only doing it because
Okay.
of sure. He doesn't. He
That
doesn't.
would have been a big thrill, though.
Oh yeah, it was, and of course with the boys.
Yeah.
One of the boys, he wants to give up playing footy and become an umpire.
Well, fantastic. Like years ago, we had Simon Johnson, the Impact man, his young son,
Yeah.
Josh, I think, he was umpiring. Now he's doing Sandford and Amateur League.
Yeah.
It's great. See
I
kids
think-
that age come through.
Well, Jaden will probably just play for Kersbrook because he plays on Sundays as well. That's
Yeah.
one he wants to give up. He plays for Jeff's Cross on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's one he wants to give up and umpire on Sundays.
Yeah.
So,
So, in an article that we did a long time ago now, when you're 400, and the question was raised, how long can you keep being involved as an umpire? And I think you made the comment about, there's some bloke in his 70s umpiring on Kangaroo Island or York Peninsula or something. And here you go, mate, you've actually reached that stage. So the question is, you just must love it, mate, being involved.
and you're no different from me. From when you were about 12 years old, every Saturday morning you get out of bed and you go to football on the hills.
Mm.
Yeah, and you say,
It's
I'm
part of
still
life.
doing
Yeah. Well,
You've done it just as much as I have, and yes, I do like the involvement. And when I was that age, I thought you could just keep, as long as you keep running around, you go to do some sort of grade of football. But you don't realise that sometimes you get a bit of arthritis in your ankle, and you can't breathe as well as you used to be able to when you're younger. Look, if I could still run around freely, I'd certainly still be doing it. And you're right, I love the game, and
No, it's great because you've had your health issues.
I had a few
over the
health
time,
issues.
yeah.
That hasn't helped the situation,
Yeah.
but
It's great to see you out there, mate.
yeah, I like the involvement in footy, and I guess that'll be until they put me in the dirt.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, one thing I would ask you, apart from footy, mate, we know you're a renowned. It's one that they haven't put you on Channel 9 on travel guides because some of your overseas escapades, I believe, like you and Big M, Michael Bowman, like even places like going to Rick's Bar in Casablanca, or just tell us the best place you visited, Trev.
Best place I've visited. Well, I'll tell you about with Big M. We went on I was going on an overseas trip. I planned to go on this overseas trip, and my wife said, "I'm not going." You know, sitting in the plane for 27 hours. So I've booked up this, and I just got a travel guide: Spain, Portugal, Morocco. That sounds all right. Go there. Anyway, I'm telling you, that's exactly how it was. No, anyway, I was talking about with the umpires, a few of the umpires one night. Big M said, "Where you going?" I said, "Playing Spain, Portugal, Morocco." "I'll come with you." So we went to a bullfight and
Wow.
but the best place I've been overseas, best place in recent years. I've been with Don Howard. Remember Don?
Yes, of course, yes.
Don Howard.
Good umpire.
Anyway, he's got a friend in Cheshire who I've now become friends with too.
Yeah.
And they're involved in the Manchester City.
Soccer club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been to a couple of their games, and I'd say that's nearly the best thing I've seen overseas.
Yeah. The soccer refs get it easy than AFL refs?
Oh, probably do, but it's a bit controversial. But if you go to those games, they're all singing and
And did they separate
what they're singing
the
about.
two crowds?
everything.
Separate the two crowds?
And they do, yeah. You know, you've got your section down there
Yeah.
in Manchester because we went to City home games.
Yeah. And I went to a Sunderland Newcastle game.
Oh,
It was
did you?
pretty. The atmosphere is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're just fanatical.
Yeah.
But
It
I
is,
always
it's-
remember seeing this picture in the one of the papers of this Manchester United fan or something. This bloke actually had a dart in his head. It's just, the rivalries on the terraces.
And they love their soccer.
Oh, they do.
It's a life to them. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, I was going to ask you when you're overseas and travelling around with Big M, did you have to make sure that you got to the buffet before he did?
Oh, we went to a place a place called Seville in Spain. A very pretty place.
Did you go to the barber there?
No, we didn't go to Bar Seville. And anyway, they came out with their meals, and I forget what it was. And anyway, someone wasn't there, and they gave us an extra main course. He finished the first one, then went through the second.
Well, he's got to keep his strength, the big fella.
But he was good to go.
Yeah, no, he's a lovely bloke. And, giving back to the game, and of course he's heavily involved with cricket. I think he's the umpire coordinator.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry.
Just one question from an umpire's perspective,
Yeah.
from the umpire's level. Who's the best player you've seen in Hills footy?
The best player I've seen in Hills footy.
It's a hard
it is a
question,
hard
right?
question, and if you named the club, I'd probably say that bloke or that club, because they've all had players that are very good, and
Yeah.
you know
That you have umpired.
that I have umpired. Well, they're going to be older footballers, and so I will run through a few clubs for you and tell you the best footballers.
Yeah.
At your Radler, Clothier's one about.
So you've got to keep it in house, don't you?
Yeah, Clothier, and he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Clothier.
Yeah.
And Paul Richards are probably as good as two. And there are plenty of Loffler and those guys. Mount Lofty, I've told Jeff this many times that Kim and Mark Bartlett were really good, but then Trzynski was a good player. But in more recent times, like Brad Birch and Mark Nielsen, really good players. Mount Barker, like you'd say Simon Noonan and Murphy, like
David
Simon,
Murphy.
David Murphy. Like Simon Noonan, like the build he is, he can play anywhere. He's the sort of football you want to pick up for a club. Harndorf, they've got about 50 million. Scott Perling is.
Yeah,
Like,
there you
I
go.
always reckon he's the most underrated footballer in the Hills.
Yeah.
He is such a good player.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
Even Adelaide now, underrated.
Let it go, Jeff. Let it go.
Although I don't know why, and I've told him the story. There was 2 years when I was doing A grade. Male medal votes, he got about 4 1 year.
I know.
Well, I gave him the whole lot. All the votes. I'm thinking, don't these other umpires know this guy?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. They either go for midfielders or forwards. Not a bloke who does his job like Pearly.
Oh, he's great.
like he sets up that rebound.
But Matthew Cooper was a very good
Yes.
player.
Yes.
And
Mr. Francis was quite.
Lester Francis was a really nice guy, great guy. And of course, Yenchi was a good player for it too. Let's see, Bridgewater, they had Snowden, Shane MacDonald.
Dasher Daly, did he excite you?
Dasher Daly's a really nice bloke. Well, and also the bloke whose son plays for Melbourne, he was a good player.
Yeah, Michael Sparrow was.
Sparrow.
We've had Michael on the Huddle.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Underrated. 300 gamer. And
Yes, he was a really good player.
Yeah.
Onka Valleys. Well, they had a couple of Indigenous blokes like
Shannon Goldsmith.
Shannon Goldsmith
Partners,
was. Like if ever a bloke should have played higher level of football, Shannon
Yeah,
Goldsmith.
yeah.
And Roger Wilson was like he won a medal.
Yes, he did. He did.
Loberthal, you got the Zillers and Kings.
Yes.
Nan.
Just on the point of male medals, and I've actually stressed this a couple of times, been to the Hall of Fame. And Neddy Cleavy's only Loberthal footballer to have won the male medal back in '85, I think it was.
Yeah.
And as you just mentioned, the Kings, the Zillers,
But
did they talk to the umpires?
No, not at all. But the reason, and I've had this discussion with Loberthal people as well. The reason being is that when they were strong, they had a lot of good players. And like there might have Loberthal might have finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th or something in the male medal count.
Yeah, because they shared it around.
Because they shared it around.
Yeah.
But
I reckon if you went back through history, you'd find the majority of medalists come from sides that have been successful as overall. So that might contradict to that thought. I don't know. It is a bit of a mystery.
It is. Gumracker, I guess if your name was Hannah, all those Hannahs are great players. You know, even today, from when I started to today, before I started, like called Ken Hannah was there. I was only a little kid.
Hey, Blackwood, obviously you think back Aaron Roach, these sort of like Simon McCormick. And Dave Richardson was a good player, a really good player. He always tells us.
He's good. He's good.
A good man.
Good man. He's a good player. And Damien Gigney kicked a lot of goals.
Yes. Diva Venning, these sort of.
Oh, Damien Venning's a good player. Yeah. Where am I down to? Bourbon. Best footballer I played against. Best footballers I played against. Barry Pfeiffer from Birdwood and Chuck Wigner from Birdwood. Barry Pfeiffer was the best one I played for. Macclesfield, Brenton Smith. I did play in a few of those games, that association games at Coates, and then one year he was playing for Great Southern, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And those Smiths were really good footballers.
Oh, yeah.
And
You've had him on the Huddle, I think.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
sort of
Brett
past in
Smith.
review.
yeah, he was.
Absolute delight to interview
Oh,
him.
he's a good guy.
Such a great leader of men.
Yeah.
And hey, speaking about Macclesfield, of course, we had the lovely Joy Edwards, who's
Yes,
such a
yeah.
treasure to Hills football.
Yes.
Had her on the Huddle with a great interview, about 60 years of involvement. It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
mate. 42 years as treasurer. And at the time, I think you were away up in Cairns.
With the husband,
That's right.
with the husband
with
Trevor.
Trevi,
Right.
up there. So just talk about the umpiring group that you go away and just talk a bit of crap and
Oh.
catch the marlins. And,
Well, we did catch marbles.
oh,
No, but yeah, I don't know how that started. You got Trevor Edwards and Neville Clark and Malcolm Farmer is not there anymore. Dale Speck.
Yep.
Trevor Morrison and Big M organising. Benny Bowman, they used to.
Yeah, Benny, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They Big M and Morris pick out somewhere to go, and we
Yeah.
just.
Annual event, mate.
Sorry.
Annual event.
Annual event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, just quickly before we let you go, because we know you've actually got to go and officiate in about half an hour, 40 minutes, just down the road at Nan.
Yeah.
Who, not putting anyone on the spot, who do you like umpiring with? They're all good blokes, as you said. Who do you actually teamed up really well when you were umpiring?
Well, probably.
Main days.
I always say that we had a bloke umpire, Kim Graham. Remember Kim Graham?
Yes, yeah, Kim Graham, yeah.
I used to think decision-wise, we made very similar decisions. But that's not to say that the others weren't any good, but probably Kim Graham. But you know, the blokes they've got now, they've got some good ones.
And not trying to be controversial, Mickey Taylor and his contribution.
Mickey Taylor's contribution to this league has been very significant, and I don't know that he's appreciated as much as he should be, and I think he'll be appreciated a hell of a lot more when he's not here and they'll realise what he did.
Now, I think what he's done also, we've got to pay tribute to him because he's come in 10 years in the job, but he's actually
15 years.
15, sorry.
Yeah.
But he's made the Hills League more professional, definitely. As far as the, we joke about the Boundary Academy,
Yeah.
they actually look to wear the uniform, and also the go umpire, so they look a professional group,
Yes.
and certainly under Mick's tutorage they've done that. So well done him. Hey, just quickly, who is because we always ask our footy club guest players, who holds the mirror in the change rooms at the umpires room?
Rob Tanner. He's not there anymore, I
No,
can't
so
say.
you got a new Elio? Or?
I'll say Reece Williams.
Oh, the wrecker.
Yeah, Ricker Reece.
Oh, right. And I know you go down Wednesday nights to the Bridgewater Inn or wherever, and good sponsors of your
Sterling
association.
now.
Sterling, yes,
Sterling,
okay.
Sterling,
Yeah,
Sterling.
Okay, Sterling. But who's always the bit miserly on paying the free kicks and also a bit miserly on paying for the beers? Who's that?
Oh, God.
That is pressure.
I don't.
We better not say
No,
because they might buy you one next
No,
Wednesday.
I know I couldn't.
All right, and quickly, not that you know, a couple of weeks' time, the male medal come out. Who would you give us 3 leading contenders that you might?
That I would think, because I've only watched
Yeah, I
you
know.
guys
From
have.
the, you've got a good perspective now.
I would say Sam Hanna will win from Ben Hanna in country division. I mean, those guys are
Yeah.
outstanding players.
Yeah.
And in central division, I haven't seen a lot of central division games, but I'd probably go for Williams from
Yeah,
Arndor.
Sam Williams.
Arndor.
Yeah,
Griggs obviously takes the umpire's eye at Loberthal.
yeah, that's right.
And I haven't seen him play much as Henry Bruce from Mount Barker. I don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Fantastic. All right, Trev, well, as we said, thank you very much for coming in, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. As I said, our last show, saving the best. It's been a great journey. We hope it continues because I tell you what, all seriousness, you are one of the most respected figures in Hills footy. I know all the players, coaches, everything, officials, they just say Trevor's a good bloke. You got footy at heart, and it's great to see you and still contributing, mate. And,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, our pleasure
Well
to
done.
be here. And as we said, Robbie, that wraps us up for.
You could be a good president.
I don't think so.
That brings us to the end of our season of Saturday morning sports.
Been fun.
It's been good with some of the guests we've had, and we've had some really good insights as we've had today with Trevor Mac. So trust you've enjoyed it and the live stream, and we've got to thank our man Benny Goldfinch, over his
Behind the
Steve,
scenes,
for his
wherever he's
help in
living
setting
on
up
that.
that sort of stuff.
There
So,
he is.
don't forget the Huddle. We'll be back on Wednesday night. So big guests. I think Simon might be coming in.
Oh yes,
Join
Will
us,
Simo,
Gary.
tell his story.
Yeah, and also we'll have a preview of the Hills Football League Women's
Yeah, with Beck,
Grand Final.
our girl
Beck
Beck.
Northcote, our girl Beck will be back. And don't forget, on 88.9 FM and also Call to Wild, crossing across to, I'm going back to home turf today, first time for a long time, Heathfield.
Yeah.
And actually off the balcony we're calling the game, so that might be
What if it starts raining? What are you going to?
No, that's all right, the balcony will be
Oh,
on.
you'll be right, but what about the football, mate?
Oh, well, yeah.
Remember last time we were there for
Well, that's right, that
river.
boggy game.
You should be going down to
well,
Carlington.
I think we'll be back at Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games swimming events. But anyway, you can tune into that this afternoon. So on behalf of all the team, Robbie Sherwood, as said Benny, this is Pistol
Behind man, there he is.
Thanks for joining us and keep chasing the goals. Catch you next time.
Cheers.